We're hanging out in the indoor facility with offensive line coach and co-offensive coordinator, Mr. Chris Bache. Coach Bache, we're indoors because it's a hot one. It's been hot all week at camp, so get a little better lighting first off, and then some refuge from the heat. How are you doing? Thanks for joining us.
I'm doing well. Appreciate you having me.
Absolutely. How's camp been going so far for you? We're about 2 weeks in now. Had first scrimmage earlier this week. What have you seen so far from the guys?
Well, I think the biggest thing that I've seen with these guys is, the camaraderie coming together as a group, as a unit, wanting to get back, biting at the bit, sort of say, getting ready to play. The biggest thing that we always talk about in practice is, we bring to the table their teachings of what they can do, and all the things that they bring is their attitude and their effort. And believe me, it's been tremendous throughout what we've seen so far, and the competition within the groups, things like that. I think the practice have been, very organized. We're to the point in what we're doing with everything and getting the most out of them. So, been really good.
Let's talk about this offense for a little bit. You and Coach P are going to be collaborating on the offensive front. What is your vision for how you want the offense to look this season?
Well, I think what you're going to see is a little bit more pounding the ball. Get a little bit, again, without giving stuff away to everybody else that might be viewing it, but you're going to see a little bit more physicalness in some things, change up a little bit of some scheme type things that we're going to do. You're going to see a little bit more play action type stuff with some of our run stuff that we did in the past, but we want to be known for moving the football on people and bringing that physical presence, and that's kind of really our mantra, sort of say, that we want to instill in these kids.
We were talking with Kyle Nunez last week, and he said we would run the ball 90 times a game if we can. That's got to be music to your ears.
Yeah, well, we're going to throw the football too. I mean, we're very fortunate to be surrounded with a good cast of kids that we have. We have some good depth at receiver. There's some kids there that are, really coming along, and we have a deep tight end pool that we feel confident. And we actually got some guys that are starting to step up and compete for some different things, getting a lot of playing time. So anxious to see how that all comes together. Quarterback-wise, it's a lot of stuff's on them now. Obviously, a lot, I don't want to say different system, but just how we go about calling things, groupings, formations, some of that kind of stuff. So it's a little bit challenging to them, but all those guys are getting in the mix right now, getting a feel for it, and really, if you were to evaluate everybody, they're kind of all even because you're giving a lot on their plate. So it's just, who's going to stand, the cream to the top, sort of say, of which guy's going to come up to comprehend actually what we're giving them. So
you got your QB1 back in Tykel Fields. It's his last year graduate player. What have you seen with him adjusting to that new scheme with you, Coach P, Coach Highland?
I think the biggest thing that I see out of Ty with his leadership skills that he's always had, the biggest thing that I think he brings to the table is confidence, obviously experience that he has in what we're doing. He is a very cerebral guy. He understands, all the things that we're trying to present to him. But like as anything, whether it's Ty Fields that's, a couple-year starter, to the younger freshman type of guy, anything new once you put into camp, it's going to be a little bit of a wrinkle to you, and it's just how you react to that. But he's doing a good job right now.
You mentioned that you also have a nice complement of skilled players on the perimeter for throwing the football. A couple of guys who have transferred from Division I schools, Khalil Newton's from Ball State, and the MAC, a conference that you have experience with, going back to your Kent State days with Coach Hazel. Tyler DeVera comes over from Maryland, very skilled tight end, can block, runs good routes. How about the rest of the perimeter?
I think you mentioned some transfer guys. You got Hunter Hayek, who's having a good camp. Obviously, Khalil's having a good camp, and then Tyler DeVera. As far as what he brings to the table, we got him as a tight end, but now he's more of a wide receiver position, which is that hybrid type of guy that we can move out. All those guys are doing very good. Some of the younger kids. As far as Sean Harris is coming along pretty good for us. Teofil's having a decent camp with some of the things he's doing. I don't want to forget anybody, but those are some of the guys that just really pop, sort of say, when you look at video and you're studying things. So I think they're all each in their own competing with one another. I think Caleb coming back over to coach the receivers has done a very good job, very good coach. And really that room is It's a good room. It's very interesting. I'm anxious to see what we can get out of those guys.
You also have a good room with the running backs. A lot of depth there, and it starts with Tyson Lawton, who was an All-American a couple of years back per Phil Steele. That's a guy who can really set the tone when you look at how he finished last spring. $134 and a touchdown, $128, 2 touchdowns in the final 2 games. How about that?
No, like I said, I think that room, out of all the rooms, to me, is the really most impressive room. And, you know, Ty's, you know, he right now is fighting a little injury that he's had for a little bit and going through that. But the really impressed with the 2 young kids, Roland Dempster and Jaden Cook. Big backs, powerful guys. I mean, you see them without a uniform on, they look like linebackers. I mean, they're scary dudes now. I mean, they can run the football. You know, they have a burst, they have some vision. Obviously, like anything, they're young kids and they're going through their growing pains, but I don't see anybody else in this conference has 2 running backs like that. And I'm very anxious to see what they can do once we get this going. And, you know, they got this year under their belt and they continue to improve, and, you know, very impressed with their performance so far to date.
If you're going to have good running backs, you got to have some guys up front to pave the way for them. That's your group, the offensive line. On the interior, you have 2 tremendous leaders. Anthony Catapano, who you have described as a second coach out on the field as your center, and then Kyle Nunez, a preseason All-America and 3-time All-Conference pick at left guard. How about them for a sec?
You know, I think both of those guys, like I said, you're very fortunate to have the room that I have. You know, in general, and without picking on certain people, the best thing that I got going is all those guys are coming back with experience. And like anything, when you're coaching an offense line and you're trying to put the group together, experience outweighs really a lot. You know, we have some depth in the interior. You know, Colin Tunk, a young guy's having a good camp for us right now as a guard. Matt Marabito's taking a step a little bit. The other starter inside currently right now is Cole Gambino, that's been you know, he's been quite impressive as far as some of the things he does. You know, and like I said, the thing, if anything, is really your depth.
I want to end with this, Coach. You used to play linebacker at Indiana University, Pennsylvania, all the way back in the 80s.
Back in the day.
Let's turn back the clock to 1986. It was your senior year, and you guys win a Pennsylvania State Athletic Conference West Championship. You went 9-2 that year, if I've got it correct. That was your final year as a player in college football.
Yep, played Westchester University, and actually it was back then it was the PSAC game, and that was for the championship.
Title game.
Title game. The East played the West, and again, I haven't been in that conference, like coaching that conference way back when, but after I played. But they divided the conference into East and West, and back in those days, the winner played the West played the winner of the East, and I'll never forget it. As you said, we did that and went on and went to that title game, beat Westchester on our home field, had home field advantage, and I'll never forget that memory.
Was that a Thanksgiving weekend? That's a late November game?
I can't remember when it was. What I never remember who we played. I remember the feeling what it was. I remember that was my last game, and the whole euphoria of, you know, hey, this is it, and then all of a sudden the next day I'll remember it vividly as ever. Is, you know, you don't get any second chances in whatever you're doing. Next thing you know, there's no more meetings, there's no more but you know, back then we didn't have the playoffs and some of that kind of stuff, so you know, moved on to the next facet of your life. So it's all these kids, I tell them, you know, it's going to be over before you know it. Enjoy what you have right now. You know, if it's important to you, do the things that you need to do. Take the coaching, understand it, and relish in all the times that you can play this great game of college football.
You took the words right out of my mouth. I was going to ask you, what would your advice be to this senior group that knows it's going to be the last round, reflecting on that memory?
Say exactly that. You know, you don't know what's ahead of your future. You know, I think that ultimately the things that you put in time right now and like I said earlier, your attitude and your efforts can determine success or failure, whatever your endeavor that you choose in life. And ultimately, playing this game and having a last go around of it, you know, don't look back, because it ain't coming back.
Wise words for sure. Coach Bache, it's been a blast. Thanks so much for your time, man. Enjoy the rest of camp.
Thank you, man.